All right, let's get this started. All right, all right, guys. We're gonna start the podcast. With me, Zunit, digital, so felon in Okasen. Do you guys want to start with some introductions? Let's start with Zunit. Just tell us about your and stuff.
Me? Yeah. I haven't played Atlas really. I started back up a couple days. I really didn't play season 2, but season 1, we were pretty kicking it. I was pretty pretty hated on Reddit, dude. Glitching into a front of the boat or some shit. I don't know. All the RPers are not a big fan, so haven't been playing since. Played Ark forever and survival game master extraordinaire, dude.
Nice. Okasen.
Just one of the leads in N3. Been around Atlas since pretty much season 1, day 1. Been around a lot, done a lot of research in game, messed around with the dev kit, came up with a couple mods, things like that. So
Nice, felon.
Yep. Started up season 1. Wasn't around for all the mega stuff. Did a small tribe stuff actually for most of the part. And then season 2 kicked off. Joined up with SOV. Pretty much became the boat guy of PCA and all things boat meta for the most part.
Cool. Digital.
They know me. King of the Mustard, Kraken Bowl champion 2019, Dragon Beamer, world's first hardboat Kraken, season 3. Yeah, that's me.
Nice. I'm just Mr. Dolphin. Ron knows me from Ark. I'm on the TPG at the moment, and just here to enjoy the game. That's it, really. So yeah, now that we got out of the way, let's start with I think topic 2. Current meta and like what kind of changes, just overall, what kind of changes do you guys seen so far, since season 1 up to now? Up to anyone that wants to start that.
I'll give it a go. I mean, significantly. I mean, like everything from performance to island claims to the boat meta up until was it today, last night, they changed all of melee combat. At the beginning of season 2, there are people going around that were, level 150 with the Guillotine Exploit, and they're just one-shotting people with the pike. And they finally fixed that, like in the last 2 days, right before Xbox release. So I can finally say that the game is at the best point that it has been since release.
Is that saying much though? Because release was dog shit.
All right, so
you can always go up from there.
I mean,
have you?
Were you saying like there was like 800 HP something players running around last season or something like that?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things was that there's a guillotine exploit, because the guillotine used to give, I think it was like 5% XP per kill. And so they would go around and they would just cut off the heads of their friends. And then there were like, I don't even know how many, level 150 players. So they spec all into HP, and then they get BP'd armor that raises their health even more. So they're just tanking puckles, throwing grenades, just doing whatever. And then they had the legendary pike with the torpor, just one-shot everyone. It was great. It was a good time.
Sounds kind of OP actually. So
yeah.
I think they nerfed it in the patch. Now I saw they nerfed it down to 300 HP. So I'm not sure what you guys think about that in particular before we move to other topics.
My thoughts on putting caps on things is it's pretty much a good thing, because then it gives the developers kind of like a maximum value that they can then balance around. In my experiences, at least people in my company, it was maybe one person ever to ever spec past 300 HP. Again, these are just specs for once you level up and you're putting points into the HP. So if you really wanted to, you could still use an HP set to go past that. But also with their armor penetration buff to the pike and the sword, I see them really encouraging a lot more actual killing people rather than just capturing them and cutting their head off or putting them in a gibbet for hours on end, that kind of stuff. So I think they're really starting to make steps in the right direction from at least what I've seen over the last week for sure.
Should be noted also that towards the end of the last season, a big part of land PvP meta, especially in EU and CSTG. They really like their bolas, whether it got nerfed or not. 6 seconds is still 6 seconds. Throw a bola, pull out your mace, and hit them with a power swing with torpor. Torpor one shot. That's it. They're knocked out. Strip them of their gear, and they're done. Now, that's going to be even stronger now that the pike cannot torpor. However, the lunge attack with the scroll wheel on the pike is now piercing damage to your armor. So that should be something to take into note, along with the buff to carbines and swords, increased damage against plate armor. Everything just got changed last night, so there's still a lot of testing to be done now.
Yeah, for sure. And you definitely pull up a good point with the bolas and the mace meta. I mean, I guess the benefit of that is, at least you don't just pop your feet and then immediately run away, or, at least you have to carry something else or have a second player tag team with you. For example, if you were to use a pike, someone with a pike that was going to poke you, and your friend had a mace, they can obviously still pop the feet and knock you out, but at least it takes a lot more effort than just poking someone to death with a spear and immediately knocking them out in one hit.
Cool. What do you guys think about the upcoming crossplay with PC and Xbox players? What do you think is going to happen, General?
Well, considering the devs, like we just said, consider the devs launched one fucking server early. Like, that's a weird play. I guess that was the stress test you guys are saying, but I have a feeling it's going to be just the wreck house. All the established companies are just going to go around and literally just beam them. They might come over with a couple of big groups, but my guess is you're going to see a lot of 3s, 4s, and 5s. A lot of Xbox players don't really roll deep. I mean, the ARC players might come in hot, and they already have established crews, but I mean, the majority of Xbox players aren't rolling like crazy clan deep. So you can see a lot of small parties just getting trashed on.
You say that, but it seems like I know there's at least one thread on Reddit of a guy just being like, Xbox players, come on. Like, you and me, boys, I'll show you how to play the game. So that could be a definite meta that they just kind of roll them in and just say, let's just roll. So.
I figured that was going to happen, but that was the same thing that Das, Medi, and Berk Black did. And look how well that went for them. It was just a bunch of bobs running around doing nothing, and then off the RP server. So,
I think Black Butterfly and some whales had something to do with that too.
Yeah, I mean that was like, I mean, they were on their way out, dude. They were literally on their way out. So that was just a cake topper, but. Every open battle they had, they're just getting trashed on. It was really laggy then, so you can give them that and stuff like that. But you're going to see anytime you do mass recruiting like that, it just never works. It's people just arguing internally, who stole this, who stole that, blah, 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 blah. The internal workings of a tribe is just, or a company would be, it never works out correct.
One of the big questions here is, will Xbox get aim assist? Does anybody know the answer to that question?
I'm assuming they will. I'm assuming they would have aim assist because.
I heard that they weren't going to, and they're just going to put in keyboard and mouse support.
Right, they're shooting for day one keyboard mouse, so that'll be.
Did
good.
they not have aim assist on Arc, and they used the whole thing on that? So I'm gonna guess they didn't incorporate aim assist to Alice either.
Yeah, I sure hope not. And I don't know if you saw the patch that just came out that the cursor does not light up red anymore with the carbine, which is huge. I mean, it does prevent scripting and things like that. But also at the same time, it definitely makes it harder. I mean, like season 1, I killed more allies than enemies.
Yeah, I could see that being a possibility.
Yeah.
Have the leg up on us.
I don't know. That's definitely, if you're an Xbox player and you're watching this right now, or in general, if I'm a console player and I'm watching you guys stream playing this game and whatnot and see what's going on, why would I go to NA? Like, why? There's no reason for an Xbox player to go to NA.
Yeah, that's the one thing
suicide.
I'm afraid of too. Like, I think the majority of if there's any big groups on Xbox, I think they're just gonna go to EU. And
I mean, if they do, say EU pops out, what's so bad about taking your company and going to EU? You're a week of work in, big deal. You know, so I mean, either way,
Yeah.
it's going to be like, you know, if they come to NA, fine. If they go to EU, I mean, fine. You know, like it's 1 week in the scheme of a survival game. That's like nothing.
How many Xbox players, console players in general, coming in? How many of them do you think have actually been watching PC players play Atlas? The answer to that is little to none. They have no clue what's going on. They're gonna buy the game. They're gonna hop on the game. They're gonna go to NA because they're in NA or closer to it, and they're gonna get massacred.
Yeah, or they're going to see the already established pop and join high pop servers like everybody does on a game.
I mean, I think that
Yeah.
kind of pulls up another question. I mean, something I kind of know that the community talked about back when the servers were really low pop in general is, do we even need split region servers with the current state of the game, and you know, the population, even with Xbox release? If they were to consolidate down to just a PvP server and a PvE server, you could potentially double the server capacity anyway.
I mean, that is assuming that we get a lot of Xbox players. Like, I don't even know how many Xbox players like we're gonna be buying this game. Like maybe 10,000, 20,000 at most, maybe.
Ooh, that's a high number, bud.
That's
Yeah.
that's what I'm assuming. I'm trying to I'm comparing our early access when it came out on Xbox. Like a couple thousand people bought that.
Arc
on
was
day
different,
one.
dude. A lot different. It was successful.
Right? But like a lot of the Xbox players, they're just gonna go off by the trailer and the pretty graphics, in my opinion. And I don't know, like you guys said earlier,
It's
I
true.
don't know what they're jumping into.
They're gonna sell. They're gonna sell copies. I don't know how many copies, but the big problem is, yeah, it's all the players before this. It got such a bad rating in the start. You know, most people. The only question I get, like the last couple of days streaming the game, is it any good now? Is it even worth jumping into yet? Like, it's like, yes, it's a lot smoother now. We'll see in a couple of days how it's going to be with lots of pop, but it is a lot smoother now. I was PvPing the other day. We were raiding something, and like guns are viable, PvP is viable. It was insane. Like something that was never viable is running around on land and shooting people. Like that was impossible.
Yeah, if they had
Yeah.
released the game at like today, it would have been an amazing game. If we could just move on from today and then go from there, but unfortunately, that's not where we're at.
Summit 1G might have actually played for more than 2 days.
Dr.
I can-
Disrespect would have stayed, actually gotten past the it's about to launch phase.
Yeah, I can definitely agree that this recent mega patch has been phenomenal for the performance, not only for FPS but also for just ping and server latency in general.
That's another interesting thing. I wonder if any of I wonder what kind of marketing they're doing for this launch, and if it is a launch that's worthwhile, are any of the large streamers going to try and pick it up, especially the varieties that had a lot of success in Sea of Thieves?
That's a good question. I'm assuming they're probably reaching out to the streamers as well. I think they've been reaching out to the streamers for the Xbox release, but I'm not sure how many of those are actually going to come back that used to play on launch date.
Yeah, what's kind of weird was I made this Reddit thread a while back, maybe like 2 months ago, about kind of reorganizing the map, and Burke Black responded to that, which was kind of caught me out of nowhere and made me realize that he's probably watching this game, like waiting for the moment to come back in. And I don't know when that moment will be, but
He's not going to come back to PvP, though. There ain't no way.
yeah.
No, I think they're gonna go to RP.
Well, is
We're gonna
Darkseid
RP.
coming back?
If Burke Black comes back, I bet you Vanalius or whatever his name is will launch Darkseid just for the sheer, I guess clout, you'd say.
Yeah, I think that's probably what we'll do. I don't think they're gonna go back to PvP servers. In my opinion.
Yeah, it's just too hard
They're
to stream.
triggered, dude. Yeah, it is. It's not easy. Especially if you're not used to this kind of game, it can be a real toxic feeling.
Yeah, between stream snipers, hiding your map, hiding what island you're on, having a stream delay, like it's nonsense trying to like stream a raid, and like I feel like a lot of the time I just feel like I have to go in the opposite direction of what's going on. Otherwise, I'm just gonna ruin the raid for the rest of my team. So it's just
I literally
kind of frustrating.
our whole company going out doing Power Stones, getting all the content and everything like that, and I have to either not stream or go do something else completely different, like Trauma's talking about. I can't put my company at risk and stream the good stuff, the fun, when you could just get annihilated in this game by stream snipers so easily.
With that being said, I want to move on to the next topic, which is what do you guys think about? We briefly touched on that before the podcast. Like, what do you guys think about the recent balance changes, the changes to chips, armor, the plague, and the blueprint system in general, which has been an issue since like the very beginning, in my opinion, with how grindy it is to like get those legendaries and mythicals, etc.
Swamp fever, man. It's
not that bad. It's really not.
Ooh.
I got infected with it by the mother. They were running around on my boat last night, and they jumped down on my boat and start trying to infect everybody. And
is it the same as the swamp fever from Ark? Like you just, or is it like the
Yes, it's
or
pretty
less.
much the same, except obviously you can't infect teams or NPCs, to my understanding.
I don't know. My guys were infected by it on the boat running around last night, and I got punched 3 times by a SDC member that was infected, and I did not get infected. It did nothing to me. So I think that stream, that yellow trail that comes off their body, is what infects you. So therefore, if you make sure that you are not in that contamination stream, that essence that comes off the back of their body, it's not going to infect you regardless. So that's one way that you could avoid it. Another thing is the whole like you can't regenerate stamina when you get infected by it. My guys weren't complaining about that at all. Like I don't even know if they saw that going up. They were dying slowly, and I guess it's kind of annoying. But from what they were telling me, it really wasn't that big of a deal.
So I can actually talk on this. So we were doing a raid the other day. Let me just kind of give you a scenario, right? You're pushing into a base. You've got your teams. You got your gears. You got all your guys ready. They're pushing in on a base. They're blowing in with cannon bears. One guy from inside the base eats a rat, runs out. Now what happens then is your entire raid is then plagued. So if you don't have the cure, you're basically fucked, because as soon as you kill that guy, regardless if you shoot him with a carbine or whatever, if he's even has a kit on or if he doesn't, his body is infected. So if you get anywhere near that body, then you get the plague as well. And as you guys are aware, swamp fever doesn't go away with deaths, neither does plague. So not only is this a huge problem, potential for griefing, my biggest fear, honestly, is with the X-Bobs when they come in, is, somebody just eats a rat, spawns on a lawless, infects some people, eats some shit, rinse and repeat. It's kind of scary to think that you would add a feature like this that would basically make the game unplayable for individuals who don't know about it.
Yeah, I mean, like, griefing is going to be terrible with this. Like, just spawning in on someone's base 24/7, just someone who just wants to be a dick. I mean, the grief potential is terrible with this thing.
That's true. That's true.
Like in Ark, it had the counters, I think, because in Ark you could just transfer out of the server and you're cured, or like you have to wait for a timer. I don't exactly remember, but in Atlas, it's like you don't have things like that can instantly heal you, like med brews and like cryo fridges or cryo pots, my bad, whatever, cryo something, and just cure the sickness right away. So in Atlas, you're like, once you get the plague, you're kind of stuck there. You just have to die, and then people have to get rid of your body, and those people are going to get the plague, and that just pretty much could spread over the entire island, especially on the lowlands or during the raid and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand why you die, you still have it. That makes no sense to me. Like, why is that a thing? You shouldn't have it if you die. You're dead. Your character's reset.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's one of those things that like, this might be a good idea. I work in Ark, not really.
They always do weird stuff in survival games where they like overdo it and it takes away from the actual gameplay. Like stuff like the plague, stuff like the nutrition system when it first came out, like how terrible it was. I don't know why survival. I know it's a survival game. I get it, but like, come on, make it playable at least. What's the survival?
Yeah, I think you make a good point, Zunit. It's like you put these things in and they may think, oh, this will be fun for them, but at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, we play the survival games, but we're not necessarily playing them, at least for us, if we're going for endgame, we're not necessarily playing them to keep our character alive, right? So I think adding something like Plague that just perpetually kills you, or something like Vitamins that perpetually kills you if you don't keep them balanced, is just kind of silly overall.
Yeah, I thought the food system in this game, the water system, is just
That's
bad.
terrible.
So bad. You have to kill yourself like 10 times on a boat, dude, sailing anyway.
And
I
it
think
used
the
to be
easy
worse.
solution for that is for them.
Yeah,
to
I know
change-
it did. Like now, it's not too bad.
Yeah, I think the easy solution for them to fix that is change the variable on the server and like make it so you lose water and food a lot slowly when you run, because you lose food and water based on how much stamina you drain, right? It's in principle.
Correct. Yes.
So if they change it so you lose less water and food after recovering stamina, I think that will just fix a lot of those problems, in my opinion. People like
It's just make it so you can't eat berries and stuff like that. You have to get meat and fish meat to like actually have food, but that's the only food you need. Like it's food. Food is food is food. Just make it so you can't collect 1 million berries in 10 seconds or something like that. Make it a little bit challenging, but not like terrible.
Yeah,
Well, that should also be noted that the more fortitude you have, the more this is not an issue. And last season, especially season 2, NA players used a lot of fortitude and less health a lot of the time because of the torpor meta, which things are changing a little bit now. But from my perspective, it really wasn't that much of an issue for the whole food thing because I ran around with 110 fortitude all season and I never really had to worry about it. But it's kind of annoying having to put that many points into fortitude in order to get rid of having to eat every 10 seconds when you're in a cold area and you're getting drained 24/7.
Well, and you also got to think that since HP is going to be capped at 300 now, you're going to have to redistribute your points a lot better between weight, fortitude, stamina, things like that also. So, I mean, like the whole meta has changed with the 300 HP.
Yeah,
cap.
definitely.
Talking about the meta, what do you guys think about the blueprints in general? Like, I've seen a lot of threads on Reddit and social media just about how the disparities between like someone that starts the game, especially the X-Pops, are gonna be starting the game, and we're gonna be like on mythical or legendary, probably boats by then, right? Like, what do you guys think of like that huge difference of because then the game becomes a lot of times like, especially season 1 became a lot about like grinding for those BPs, and that's all you did. You were just grinding for like all these mythical ships. Like, what do you guys think in general? Is that like that's like a mechanic from art?
We're talking about
shouldn't be in the game.
land. We talking about land gear or ships.
No, we're talking about I'm talking about blueprints in general for like ships specifically. Yes.
Well, when it comes to ships specifically, I would beg the devs to nerf the shit out of everything because there's no reason to have it as strong as it is now. If they nerf everything down even lower, 2% per 1% damage for a point into the boat, 1% resistance, take the scaling down significantly and make things more simplified. It'll be easier for them to balance it because right now numbers are so high with blueprints and the resistance on the ships and the damage. When you add it all in together, it's much harder for them to balance it, which they're trying to do. They just made the changes: 4% damage, increase crew for the galleons, increase weight for the galleons, all that kind of thing. Things could be different now. But if I take my mythic brig against a journeyman brig right now, like it doesn't matter what the setup is on that brig, it could be way better than mine. They're gonna lose the fight. They don't have a chance. Mythic is just way stronger. It's not comparable.
Yeah. Or go ahead, Okasen.
I was just going to say, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I do have experiences fighting common boats versus legendary printed boats. And yes, definitely, don't get me wrong. Your blueprinted stuff plays a huge part in it. But it also does boil down to the spec that the player then puts into the boat, which I think is pretty influential. Player knowledge, player understanding of how things work, player preference also. So, I mean, I do agree with you that blueprints definitely stacking alongside the damage. For example, if you had a boat that was like 300% damage and then you got a mythical cannon that was 250 roll with 60%, you're now sitting at 550% damage, which is absolutely absurd. So, I think balancing the blueprints or even potentially removing crafting bonus, I think could also be something that they could look into for balancing blueprints overall.
I could promise you, specifically for galleons, if Trauma comes up to me in a journeyman galleon and harpoons me, and I'm in a legendary or mythic galleon, he's gonna lose his entire ship, a minute before I lose mine. It's
Bro,
just
I bring a dragon. I don't bring a
yeah,
ship.
unless his
Unless you're-
dragon eats my gear
I,
again.
I think that this is like something that they brought from art. That I feel like, in my opinion, it's not really needed in Atlas. Like we don't need mythical, legendary. I feel like the game doesn't need to have like that this many levels of blueprints to make the game more enjoyable, because you're gonna have players that are not gonna be able, like, you're gonna have a smaller groups, like, so all the time smaller groups are never be able to get like those mythical legendaries, right? Like the only ones that get mythical and legendaries is gonna be us, like the large groups, right? In a lot of situations you have these like mythical and legendary boats that are just gonna one shot pretty much everything, and a lot of the fights just end up, a lot of the fights from what I've seen so far just end really quickly once you have those legendary and mythical boats. Like I feel like they just need to either nerf the damage or the scaling of these blueprints, or they just need to get rid of like mythical, legendary, just have maybe like 3 sets of blueprints. I don't know what you guys think about that in general.
So I think
think-
that the BPs aren't really the problem, and you got to think of it like I always kind of compare this game to, like, just think of like World of Warcraft. Like there's starting areas, you're level 1, you're level 10, through 10, and then you go into the next area, and you're not really going to run into like level 60s or like high level players in that area. And I keep saying this is that they need to give more incentive for the larger companies, the more mythical boats, the try hard sweaty guys like me, to go to certain areas rather than just going around free ports and then just being everywhere. Because that's why these common boats get blown out of the water, is because they're always in the same area as these mythical boats. Like if you kind of reorganize the map and kind of put everything like a power stone with like the 5th and 6th materials kind of closer to the center, like those mythical boats are going to be going closer, going to be pushed further into all the other companies that are fighting for that, whereas all the other smaller companies with common boats, journeyman boats, whatever, are going to kind of be on the outside. So I think the map needs a reorganization, but I mean they're not going to do that at this point. So
Right, and I think digital makes a really good point. Pushing end game content to a particular area is definitely an excellent way to achieve that. And currently, it's really cool that you can explore the map. I'm sure all of you remember back in season 1 how fun it was when we didn't know where anything was or anything, going around farming things and finding, bringing resources back home and all that. But I think at the end of the day, the way that current things are, if you want to keep, at least in a survival game, people are going to play it how they want to play it, right? So if you're going to want to play with a 5-man group, you're just going to play with a 5-man group. And if you're out farming for something in an area that every mythical boat can go to or wants to go to, there's no incentive for them to go somewhere else. That's kind of a problem. But also on the flip side, if you're in, say you're a new player, well, not necessarily a new player in this case, say you've been playing for a month, you have your 5-man group, you make your mythical galley, right? You're driving out and you're doing these things. Someone that's far more experienced than you comes up on a journeyman, and then they blow up your mythical. I don't think that's fair to the smaller group either. So it's really difficult to find that balance between the two.
Yeah, there's something that could be said about that. I'd also like to touch in that the RNG involved in getting blueprints in this game, especially ship blueprints, farming the ships of the damned and whatnot, is just ridiculous. Like you have to
Absolutely.
play the RNG game for finding the ships of the damned in the first place. Then the RNG game of what kind of ships of damned are spawned in that group. Are there any galleons, brigs in it? On top of that, once you kill said group, you've got to play the RNG game of what drops from the ship in the box, which is like 20 different options of blueprints that can spawn in that flotsam. And then on top of that RNG, what kind of roles do the blueprints have inside of that box? It's insane. Like the RNG is just way beyond what it needs to be for farming for blueprints, specifically for ships in this game.
Definitely agree with that.
I think they're gonna have a hard time holding and pulling new players. This game is it's starting to look kind of like the like the landscape of Ark, where the PvP servers are very, very, very unforgiving for new players. And there's no like scalability. There's no time period in between. With at least like Ark, you could take your small crew of a couple people, go play on some unofficial servers, get good, or find some more people to hang out with. But that doesn't seem to be a culture over here in Atlas at all. So, to get on here, to get those mythical things, you guys are always going to stomp. And like for dudes to just say like, oh, get to level 100, food and water's nothing. There's going to be a lot of people that take a long time to get to 100. It's because they don't know what to do, and you got to keep their attention, or else the game's just going to depop really fast. Yeah. I'm here. I want to see the game pop up, but with all this, next level high end stuff, you have to have some balance that does attract the new guys. And you guys are kind of correct in saying there needs to be something that keeps that balance at bay.
Also, that has to do a lot with what's going to touch on next, which the traveling. Like this map is gigantic, right? And it just takes a lot of times like hours just to cross a couple tiles, and a lot of times like smaller groups and casual players of Xbox, they're not gonna like be able to get five different types of resources of wood and stuff like that, like we do on large groups. So like do you think they should have like some kind of fast traveling like in other MMOs and stuff like that? Because even I have a hard time getting like going to farm. Like I don't like traveling 6 tiles just to get one resource and then drive my boat back another 6 tiles just to bring it back to my base. If I would like to see some kind of fast travel in general, but I'm not sure what you guys think.
So I can actually weigh in on this. I feel very strongly against a fast traveling system. And the reason being is because if you have to put a fast traveling system in where the main purpose of the game is to be sailing, that shows an inherent problem with the system itself. So I think that what really needs to be addressed there is the actual sailing speed of the boats rather than skipping out on driving your boats altogether.
But if you change, so you're saying like they should just buff the speed of the boats? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. What I'm saying is that they should basically fix wind, more or less. You have those times where you have a needle dick of a wind going in the absolute opposite direction, and you're going about 2.5 knots for the next 30 minutes, and that's not even to account for having cargo or bringing things to and from. Think about our friends who do RP, and maybe they're doing like transportation runs. It's terrible for them. Thinking about the current situation with weight sails, they're the absolute slowest sail in the game. There's completely no use to use them right now. It's nice that they give you additional weight, but the penalty that they provide for speed, it's completely useless to use them versus a speed sail. You're better off using a speed sail and being at 80% weight than using any weight sails at all. So I think there's definitely some balance that needs to come in on that to address the entire situation of sailing as a whole, rather than kind of a Band-Aid fix for fast travel. That's just my thoughts on it, though.
Well, did Jat and Dolly not release something saying that later phase 2, maybe I think it was phase 2 for their plan roadmap, they do plan on making the little dick wind go away to where a more sustainable wind pattern will be in the game, as to like the smallest wind in the game will not be that bad. It'll be pretty average. They did announce that would be in their roadmap.
Yo, is Twitch broken right now? Does anybody see 0 viewers on everything, or is that just?
Yeah, it is broken.
Oh yeah, 0 everything.
All right, got it. Just checking, dude. You dead as fuck, Dolphin. Shit.
That streamer.
Thought people were gonna watch this. You promised me, Dolphin.
The force.
No,
But
it is broken.
One thing I've heard some people ballpark that sounds really cool is, what about like Pacific currents, Atlantic currents, Arctic currents? You put currents under the water, and if you follow these currents, your ship can travel faster, and it'll be high traffic. People will be on it. It'll put people in areas more specifically and make ship content, ship fighting. It'll force people to funnel in a little more, because if you go to these currents or whatever, you will travel faster. Therefore, you're forced to fight more also at the same time. which is what everybody wants. We want more content. We want to fight more. So I just think that, putting Atlantic currents or whatever you want to call them, putting underwater currents in the game, and if you follow the path, your ship could travel faster across the grid. That would be really cool.
I definitely agree with that.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think if I kind of want a medium, like fast travel zones that are like in only a few places. So you still have to sail 2 or 3 grids probably to get to that, and then be able to teleport rather than just like an easy teleport within 1 grid of you at all times. If they strategically place it, I think it'd be all right, but not on the grand scale for sure.
Yeah, that's something I kind of was trying to say. Like I was thinking maybe something like where you can fast travel between certain free ports. So like let's say you're on like O13 and you want to travel to like maybe the middle, like that's like what's like 10 plus tiles that you have to travel to. But if you like just add a small shortcut to travel to the closest free port, then you have to travel maybe like 4 tiles, something like that.
Now, are we talking about fast traveling boats or just people?
No, fast travel boats.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, I don't know how that would work. I personally really like this game for the realisticness of it compared to Ark, even though this game's got all the magic and everything like that in it. I like the feel of when you're out there and like you have to put the time in to go places and whatnot. It's just a little bit too much time, in my opinion. Like it's a little too slow.
I agree. On to that. What do you guys think about I've already talked on large groups versus small groups. What about like really quickly on the player market? Like, do people even use that in general? Like, I saw that they added that on season 1, and I never used it.
There's a player market.
The little trading stop. I think what needs to be done with that is they just need to have a centralized place where you can place them, almost like a black market or something they could call it. Maybe you go there and place your stall, or maybe you can go and play cards there or something and gamble. Just little things to incentivize people. Again, like Digital was saying, like you guys were saying as well, just to kind of concentrate people, to funnel people into a particular area, I think is really something that would benefit.
What do they call that
make it a
thing?
building.
What's the real name of that thing? The player store or something like that? What's it actually? I forget what it's actually called.
Trade stall or something.
Yeah, something stall.
No one even knows.
All I know is my guys use it to put on a free port and store gold in it because shitheads come by and light themselves on fire and try and kill your tames in the free port.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
I was hoping they would make it something like the auction house from Ark, which is a mod where like you just go to the free port or you have your own player shop and you just access that shop and access an online shop built within the game, kind of like Diablo 3-ish, where you just like when the Diablo 3 used to have the auction house, it's kind of something like that. You just like trade stuff through the cloud. But
yeah, I think most people for trade they use one of our guys. Mal has a trade Discord, and I feel like more trading goes on there than anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they should definitely change it in a way so it's like more interactive, or there's some kind of interaction between people who are not in those Discords, so they don't have to rely on third-party systems, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Dolphin on that as well.
I'd like to see merchant ships used more. Like, let's throw like merchant galleons and shit in the water. Put more of them out there and just, I don't know. I guess there's other values to free ports, but just get rid of the fucking free ports in general and just put more like sailing merchant ships out there. Spawn in lawless when you start the game or something. I don't know. I hate the fact that you could sail into the free port for safety. It's just so lame, and
it is so annoying. Yeah. I think in regards to that, I feel like they should have added a timer, so every time you take damage, you cannot leave the zone that you're on.
I think a schooner or better shouldn't be allowed to freaking go free port invincible.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Isn't that what you guys are crying? You should be able to transfer into like a free port and just like bail on people. I don't know. Maybe I lost it.
The the issue with the game is, let's just throw an example out there. I'm fighting Trauma, and I'm in trouble. And he's got 2 minutes. He's got 4 ships on me, and I'm in trouble. I got to get out of there. What's the first thing that you do? You look at the map. It's like, all right, what's the safest place I can get to? Is there an ally around me? No, I'm too far away. I don't have any allies around me. I can't get to a harbor of a safety harbor or anything like that. So you go straight. What's the closest free port? Everybody does it. Like every company in this.
That's what I mean.
game,
Like, what if
they're
they made
outnumbered.
it to like a certain tier boat doesn't go like, it doesn't get safety to Freeport or some shit. You know what I mean? What's the point of a
Yeah, I
gap
feel you.
in Freeport?
I feel you. Another thing, like Dolphin is saying, is if you take damage within the last 15, 20 minutes, if your ship has taken damage, the Freeport is a physical red wall. You will just bounce off of it. You can't even enter it at all. But then, how do they restrict? Did they take damage from ships to the dam? Was it player damage? How do you balance that properly? It's just, I don't know. It's a tough thing. I don't know how they're going to work on that.
I guess kind of a question I have just generally for you guys is so kind of just to take this down to the little guys again, what if the little 5-man company has their mythical galleon, they're just getting bodied by you, just absolutely destroyed. They try and zone into the free port and they get red walled. Is that fair to them? I feel like as frustrating as it is for all of us, right, for people just to run to free ports, I think it should still be an option, but definitely not as easy to do. For example, maybe instead of 16 free ports, there's 8, and they're actually distributed properly. Kind of like what Digital was saying before, restructuring the map, I think could benefit that greatly.
Yeah, that could definitely help out.
Yeah, I think at the very least they should do like a quick green anchor for safety at a free port for, like Zunit said, like ships over a schooner. I think that would be a lot more fair. Like, you pull up, you're gonna go get your NPCs, you stay in your boat for like 2 or 3 minutes, you're green anchored, you're good. But just like an instant safety net, like we chose the grid that we live in based on the surrounding free ports. We found the grid that was the furthest away from any free port. So if you pull up, we're gonna beam you before you get to a free port. Like we don't play that shit. Like we want to fight. Like we're not here to just watch you just go back and forth to a free port, live in a free port, any shit like that. Like we're gonna chase you for 2 grids. If you get to the free port, good job.
Sure. I agree with that. Oh, really quick, what do you guys think about I know they added boarding recently in season 2, and can one of you like walk me how that works? Like, can you like?
Well,
How
not
how does boarding work?
necessarily.
Yeah.
Is that not a thing?
So the harpoon will lock 2 ships together so that they cannot move, which is kind of strange. It's something to be touched on in the first place. I don't know why they completely stop even though you're full sail. But this is what I've been talking to Jat and Dolly about. What I've been trying to get across is why can't the harpoon serve a dual purpose and be a zip line? Why can't I harpoon somebody's ship and zip line over to their ship and board them properly and get a real fight going out on the sea, like an actual boarding fight? And why does the harpoon completely stop a ship when it's locked in? Slow it down, okay. Keep them even together, okay. I just don't understand, like, physically stopping you dead in the water.
Well, I think you make a good point about the boarding. I know back in the live stream, as you mentioned before, they also mentioned that boarding was something that they were going to try and encourage with the roadmap further on. Obviously, swivels are pretty fucking strong right now. So, I mean, that's something that they're looking into. But the harpoons, some people have problems with them. But again, I think it comes back down to the reason they added them in was because people could just get away super easily. So that's kind of almost like a Band-Aid, in my opinion, than an actual fix. While the harpoon is pretty cool and is something that I think is, fun to use. It sucks when you get grappled and your ship gets blown up. But again, I think running in general is something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, being a huge ship guy, I personally love the harpoon in the game because mythic ships are so damn strong. You would never sink a galleon in this game without the harpoon. It'd just get away. Like even a slower galleon would limp to a free port missing 20 planks, you know, last season having 20 dudes bucket into a freaking fireplace with no planks on the boat. But the harpoon was the answer to that. It stops a lot of that. It just is a little bit, 30 seconds is a little long, maybe 15 seconds instead. And overall, I'd like to see it be a zip line at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good balance change, but maybe not the zip line, just because that's going to be like extra programming for them, and they're worried about a lot of other things. You can still get a grapple, and that at least decreases the amount of people that are going to jump on your ship, because that's one of the biggest problems. Like the other day, we actually felt bad for this, but we saw a schooner. We were on a map schooner. We had 20 people on the schooner, and we just bodied another schooner that had cannons on it and everything. We were just a unarmed schooner. We just all jumped on and just bodied them because they didn't have swivels.
Boarding used to be the most fun. That was probably the most fun aspect of the game. When they ruined that, they got rid of half their like actual PvP base. I feel that was like the most fun part of the game, gliding onto a boat and just bodying people. When I took that away,
with oil jars and fucking fire arrows.
But you can't really board.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, to be fair, like,
yeah, that was a lot of fun. Like watching the
little plays could
days,
be
man.
Real plays could be made. You could go 1v10 and actually kill people, and now it's like.
Yeah, I remember Zunit's guy would like kill some of the guys in the late shift with just like one guy would just glide down to the deck and it just like wipe all of them. It's like a lot of fun.
I mean, you can still do that, but I'm saying is that.
Well, you can't really do that though because the shovel guns.
You can. If you can,
I heard boarding's better.
Man,
I heard boarding's better now.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. If you get a wooden shield or even a metal shield if you want, they're heavier, but whatever. You pull out a wooden shield and you can tank every swivel shot that comes at you on that ship and take very little damage if you do it properly. But it's strategical and good players shine with a lot of swivels on the deck. It's not easy, but it can be done. However, last time I talked to Jat and Dolly, they did say that they were looking into boarding ships and nerfing swivel gun damage on ships to make it easier.
Wouldn't it be better if they just make it so AI can man swivel guns when you're on sea? Like let's say you can use AI on swivel guns when you're anchor, but you can't use it when you're just on the open sea. So that way you can actually board boats. You can actually board them without having to get killed instantly by a swivel gun. And you can actually have fights within the deck itself.
So that favors the mega like so much, man.
100%.
You're just gonna run 20 people on a boat. No boat is gonna be able to stand against you. You're just gonna crash your boat into them. All these nakeds are gonna jump on board. There's no defense. So I really don't think it's a bad thing. Like if you put your swivels there properly, it's gonna take a high skill cap to actually get on board. Like it just favors the megas, and I like completely understand. Like if I'm one guy or two guys out on a boat, if 10 guys jump on my boat, man, I at least want like 2 or 3 of them to die to a swivel,
Yeah, but if we nerf the damage to swivels, like on boats specifically, because they could do that. They could take a swivel on a boat and say, okay, it has a cap. It can only do so much damage, a swivel placed on a boat. And they'll still be there, and they'll still one-shot some people or lower health players and whatnot. But skillful players or players that are set up for it will be able to hop on a boat and take, maybe 2 or 3 swivel shots rather than just getting one shot by a legendary mythic swivel every time they hop on a boat. Maybe they could take a couple of them.
People can already do that with, high skill cap.
Yeah.
So you're just going to make it easier, which lowers the skill cap.
Well, so
it's just damning. But like that's me talking from a perspective of like the melee changes before they happen, yesterday. And so with like a 300 HP max health, I mean, like a swivel is gonna
that's true.
1 or 2 shot you for sure.
That's true.
We got to think about that.
Yeah, I know back in season 2, a buddy of mine had a full mythic kit on, full HP build, and the swivel hit him for 2,000 damage. So there's definitely an issue there.
I had 265% mythic swivels on one of my galleons last season, and it didn't matter what you're wearing. You're getting one shot by that unless you had a shield to protect yourself.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe they just tone down the damage of swivel guns.
That could be said also. We attack Death and Taxes once during I don't know. We fought Death and Taxes somewhere, and they literally had like 12 dudes on top of a wall, and I stood on top of my sail with full mythic gear on, and all 12 of their dudes took turns shooting me in the head, and it did 9 damage per shot, and I sat there and laughed with a monkey on my shoulder. I just sat there and laughed, and it did nothing. I out-regen their damage with a monkey on my shoulder than they did to me with 12 guys and carbines.
I mean,
That's kind
definitely won't be the case anymore, though, with the recent changes to armor.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank God for that. Holy shit.
Yeah, that sounds pretty broken. With that being said, what do you guys think about the Power Stone grind that we have to do all over again for the third time?
It's
Like
awful.
Power Stones
I don't know.
were-
It's awful.
So, how about that fucking RP book that just pops up and, you know...
I want to
Well,
read
you're
it,
running-
man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me just kite these guys off here. No, I think the cave spawns in general, like, it's the first piece of endgame content that a player's really supposed to do. It's kind of sad to see that even the essences are far easier to do than the power stones, which is the initial entry gate to endgame content. I think personally it's kind of backwards, where essences should be as difficult as the power stones are, whereas your power stones should be as easy as the essences are. It just doesn't make sense for a new player to have to go through such a serious difficult. I'm trying to think of the word here, like a skill check, in order to even begin to get into that end game content.
Yeah, like power stones for me are not even fun because not only they spawn level 80 plus, 100 plus of anything. A lot of times it's just all you do is just cheese and kite things away, so you can just run the cave through. Like it's not even there's nothing fun about doing power stones.
Some people consider this whole pulling the Hydra thing to the ship an exploit. Like, is that actually an exploit, or is that the way it's intended?
I think it's just the way they don't have a system. I think for how to like do power stones yet. I think like when I saw the trailer in the Hydra, I thought, okay, that's gonna be a boss. No, you just cut that thing away and just like cheese it. And there's
Grab your shovel, dude.
Yeah, there was like there's nothing fun about doing the Hydra. All you do is kite it, kill it with ballistas or canister shots now, and that's it. That move on, do the kite things away, and go run the power stone cave. Like I thought what they were gonna do. I thought they were gonna do something like an arc extension, where they were like, you go to Power Stone, you summon the Hydra, and the Hydra will have its own arena within the island, and you just have to actually go inside the island and just kill the Hydra, and you just couldn't cheese it. I thought they were gonna do something like that, but maybe they can change it at some point in the future, because I don't think it's fun.
I think Trauma's ready to dig his own grave.
Yo, I got my mythical shovel, dude.
He's ready to kill the fire elemental. That'll be the first one.
I was watching Zunit yesterday trying to kill one level 170 warrior of the Dam. Like just trying to you were just
I sold one, dude.
Yeah, like I don't know. To me that makes no sense, especially for like the Dex Bobs and the small groups. Like they have to cheese it. They have to like kite things away. There's no way you can kill anything.
You have to do what you have to do in every game and kite it into a corner, get it stuck, and beat it down, and get all the XP for free.
Yeah, and like even when you're cheesing it to like kite it to the boat, I mean, like the other day I spent like 3.5+ hours at which one was it? It was 8-6. Like that Hydra gets stuck everywhere. There's 10 million fire mills.
Stuck for us.
Like, oh man, that's the worst one, dude. It's almost as bad as the pillar one in was it C6? Like it was just like I literally was like, why the fuck am I doing this? Do I even need a power stone? Like, and imagine like, you know, we have players that have done it for 3 seasons in a row. We have like, arguably some of the best players in the game, and we're still having trouble pulling this thing, dude. Like we are at in game and we cannot do this. So like, how do you expect like an Xbob company to pull up and be like, oh yeah, let me just like kite these fire elementals. I'm gonna sneak past this razor tooth, and then I'm gonna pull this, and then I'm gonna chain pull it with this guy, and then this guy's got a crossbow, and then we're gonna pull it to our boat that's got cancer. It's just no, it's not gonna happen, dude.
I think it's the levels in general. Like things are just too high level on these power stones for no reason whatsoever. Like, they don't need to be that high level. Not only that, they just instantly respawn as soon as you kill it. Anything, really.
Yeah, like how I feel like it should be like more or less like an MMO dungeon. Like you should roll up, you should have tames, you should have armor, like everyone's full plate, and you can actually like clear your way to the Hydra or whatever it is, or the Drake or whatever. Like you can legitimately clear your way. But like, I mean, it is technically possible, but with like a full, you know, breed line with bears and, you know, all this shit. Like, I mean, you can't even kill anything with swivels anymore on like a Power Stone Island because people were leveling that way. So it's like you can't even do that. Like, as far as I know, the only way to do it is with the boat. Like, is there another way?
Well, yeah. So the H6 one, for instance, when it gets stuck there, it happens to us too. Every time we go there, the freaking thing gets stuck. So some people would just climb up on the sides of it with, you know, you get enough people. Again, this is a mega company advantage, but you just get enough people climb up the sides and you just start shooting in the head with carbine from range. It can't actually hurt you at all because it's too far away, and you just keep shooting it in the head and it dies eventually. But I personally think that they need to nerf the Hydra, just, I don't know, nerf the whole process in general so that it's more of a foot fight, you know, gun skill, carbines, Hydra pistols, stuff like that. People actually have to get off the boat, get on land, and fight this thing rather than even being able to pull it to your boat. Like, just make it easier to fight on land, and it can't be pulled a certain distance. You know, get rid of fighting it with the boat and have people actually hop out and have fun and kill it, shoot it in the head with guns and shit, at least, or something.
Yeah, I personally think they should just make it so you can't kite it out of the island and like have it just spawn in the very center of it and just has its own arena, and maybe lower the level of everything that's in there so you can actually bring tames in there and actually fight it properly. I don't know how they can fix that. Like, it needs to be more fun than just cheese it, you know, because there's nothing fun about doing Power Stones.
The first time you guys ever killed a Hydra, I don't know if you can remember, but the first time you went to a Golden Age to kill a Hydra, our group took like 10 or 15 bears with swivels and ballistas on the back, and we just shot the shit out of the thing with swivels and ballistas. We never knew that you could pull it to a boat or whatever. We didn't even try that. We just killed everything on the way to the Hydra, backed a bunch of bear carts up to it, and we just shot it with ballistas and swivels. I mean, why not make that a little bit easier?
I mean, that's, in my opinion, that's how it should be. Like you need to like put some effort into it. You don't need to show up on a sloop, a schooner, or whatever. Like, you need to put effort, tames, armor, all that stuff into it, not just naked spamming.
Yeah, I agree.
And that subject also, I don't think the key should drop from your body when you die. Like, it should stay on your body. Like, you know, the Power Stone run, like actually to the Power Stone with the key is actually kind of fun, in my opinion. It's not super hard, but like, the worst thing is when you like fall into the pit and there's 10 million mobs, you just lose your key, and then all of a sudden that 3.5 hours that you spent pulling that Hydra are now wasted. Like, you start over. Like, that's just too unforgiving.
And then you're just picking up hats because they added hats now.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
Should also be noted that fire elementals just absolutely rape everything. They're ridiculous.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're just way too strong.
Oh yeah.
And well, with that, I want to move on to what do you guys think about, like, I know they've been talking about boat safety, offline raiding, and like making it easier for, like, especially a lot of the casual players, like in the small groups, to be able to like leave their boats without having to come back the next day and like seeing those boats just not be there because they got blown up by Zunit. Like,
It's calling you out, dog.
no, but like, what do you guys think in general? Like, it's like, should they even add some kind of like offline raid protection for the boats, especially for like the X-Pops in general, or like?
Well, I think it's really challenging, right? You know, how they introduce something like this. It obviously, whenever they give a benefit to something, you know, like free ports, for example, the megas are always going to abuse it, right? It's not just to benefit the small guys; it's also going to be used by the big guys. So I definitely think it sucks. I mean, we've all been there. It sucks to lose your boat in your harbor. People bringing knock-knocks into your harbor and blowing all your boats up. That sucks. It was really nice during the end of season 1 when they brought in the green anchor buff and made it a lot harder for people just to grief your harbors down, which was a good buff. Also, the oil jar nerf, that was good too. Things like that to just kind of improve boat safety. I would almost suggest to them that adding another tier to green anchor, like if your boat's been anchored for 24 hours or maybe 48 hours, it gains even further resistance. Maybe that would benefit the casual players. I don't know.
I mean, there's a certain point that you have to like protect companies that, like mega companies, like we have our protection. We farm, we grind, whatever. We have 10 million puckles. We have a harbor defense, whatever. Like these small companies, like a group like 1 through 5, are they really going to like grind all day to keep their island loaded? Because it keeps on coming back to this point of at what point do you get a boat? Well, you gotta get off your free port. All of a sudden, you have to have metal farms. Oh, well, how'd you get your metal? How'd you get your rocks? How you get your wood? You have elephants. You have rhinos. You have blah, blah, blah. Like 3 days later, like, yeah, you're going to start building a common boat. And I think they need to like enable some ability for like companies like 1 through 5 people, 5 through 10 people to be able to have some sort of ability to live out of Freeport. I know it's like super, super awful because, mega companies are going to exploit the fuck out of it. But like, there's no casual gameplay in this game, like whatsoever. Like people just want to jump on their boat and just sail, man. So it's like, what's the balance of like keeping like 1 boat, 2 boats inside of a, ship in a bottle or something like that. But like for a company that small, like you're not gonna be able to log on like 1 or 2 hours after work as some sort of like, relative casual that is, and just log on, get on your boat, not have to worry about sailing for like 6 hours to actually go find a boat fight,
And a lot of times you have to think that a lot of those small groups are gonna live on lawless. So like every time I see a boat on lawless, I just sink it. Like they don't really have any kind of like, they need to own an island to have any sort of like offline raid protection. And because you only have a limited number of islands, not everyone, especially the small groups, there's no way a small group is gonna be able to own an island unless they rent, right? So yeah, I think they need to find a way to like either let players put their boats on a ship, a battle, like kind of like a crab pot from Ark, or they should just let them upload their whole. In my opinion, they should just let let small groups upload their whole boat to the cloud, and they just download it from a garage or something. You just go to Freeport, download your boat, and that goes back to something that the players, when they first bought the game, like all those 50,000 players that left. I remember a lot of the feedback on Reddit and social media were like, "Hey, can I just like put my boat in the cloud like an EVE Online, like docking?" Like a lot of those players made those suggestions, and you're gonna see those Xbox players, they're gonna make the same suggestions that those guys or that came in the beginning left. You're gonna see a lot of the same threads, the same feedback. And I want to able to upload my boat to the cloud. I want to live on the sea. I don't need to own land. I want to be able to live on my boat. And I feel like Grapeshot needs to look at that and be like, how can I cater to the small group in that regard while not breaking the whole game and making it unfun for like large groups? Because I think they need to make it so land in general needs to be a luxury, not a necessity. So if like a small group wants to live on their boat and then upload their boat, download it the next day, and just keep playing the game, I don't see anyone have a problem with that. Like, yeah, sure, we'll find ways to abuse it, but like I think that would be more beneficial to the game in general.
That would make for so much more boat PvP too. Like if people just like downloaded their boat, yeah, people would exploit the shit out of it, but you can essentially be a small group and just upload your boat every night and just come back out and sail around. The only time you'll lose it if you get caught and and sunk by somebody, which is also viable. Maybe have it so you can't just run to a free port and upload. Make it have like some sort of a debuff to where you can't just upload your boat right off the bat, or if you're in combat, you can't, or maybe make a combat timer on a boat. If your boat takes damage, you can't go to a free port and take that debuff or whatever the hell that buff of invincibility or whatever the fuck it is. That would be kind of cool, actually, because I know a lot of people that want to play this game, but they don't want to have a base. They don't want to have to deal with the whole harbor shit and the whole grindy 24-hour shit like Ark. They want to just get on their boat, sail around, have fun, and then just live on a boat. That would be pretty viable in that case. That'd be interesting, actually. That would make it for so many boats on the water at all times. I feel.
Especially those
Yeah.
guys like Summit and a lot of those guys that like went to more of a pirate game. They want to live in the. They want to just a. They want the boat PvP. They want like a pirate game, and you can't really do a pirate game when you just have to like build your base, grind for your defense and stuff like that. If you can just like upload your boat and just download it. Like you imagine the number of like casual players, a small group that just like, oh, I'm just gonna like download my boat and just go PvP and use my
Just
boat.
do a 24-hour expiring timer, so they have to get online to download their boat the next day, or else it goes away. Something like that. Like, you know, so if they don't get it, they can't just upload their boat and have a boat and upload at all times. They have to upload and download at all times if they want to keep a boat and, you know, upload. But that'd be sick.
Yeah, I talked about this before. So like what I was thinking was like there's kind of limits on that. Like, you know, up to like journeyman, up to, you know, like have some sort of cap of what you can actually hide behind like a download, you know? Because if you have a mythical boat, you want to like save your mythical boat, like you shouldn't be able to do that. Like there should be some sort of incentive to be like, well, you've got this mythical boat. Hey, maybe you should join this like company. Hey, maybe you should have an island. Hey, maybe you should defend it. Like if you want to go this next level, you should put in more time, which is also good for the game. That like, hey, you know, like I want to be competitive. I'm gonna, you know, go have an island. I'm gonna join this company. I'm gonna put more time into this. It's just a big time sink. But like, if you want to be like, you know, you have a journeyman boat, whatever. Who gives a shit, man? Just like load it up. Just get rid of that thing, like on a free port. Whatever, man. Who cares if you hide a journeyman boat on a free port?
Yeah, I think that would be because if you do something like that, like you'll see more people on the open sea. Like you'll see people go to your grid just to farm because then you see more people traveling because they don't need to own land. Like we own large groups. Like yeah, sure, like it has a lot of benefits just having our own port and our own land and just makes it more viable to do other things. We can tax people on top of it, right? But the small group, like this, the small group of the solo player, they don't want to own land, and they just want to sell their boat and like live on their boat. But there's no
That
ability.
upload would be how many, dude? That I feel like that would bring so many like just day-to-day players to the game, like so many players. Whether you can exploit it or whatever the hell or not, that's balanced down the road. But I feel like that's where the miss was with this game. The fact that you can't just have a boat and be on a boat and just travel around and farm and PvP the whole time. You have to like own land and blah blah blah. I feel like they missed the mark with that ability for smaller groups to be able to just let's take my boat and stash it somewhere or upload it or whatever the hell it is to where I can come back and I know it's going to be good. You know, it doesn't lag out the server because there's not a million boats sitting in a free port.
Yes. Yeah, speaking of that, like, do y'all like the 40 anchored boat nerf? Because I do. Because it like as my company, like we're a very like communist company. Like, you know, everything's for the company, everything farm is for the company, and like, you know, we're pushing to have like the best boats possible, and like it really gets rid of those shit boats that just sit on the harbor. I mean, like how many boats during season 1, season 2, like we were looking at the screenshot the other day of like our old K-10 harbor. We had probably 70 boats in this harbor. How many of them were BP'd? Like 1, 2, maybe 3 at most. And it's just like this shit just sits there and just ruins your FPS. But like it's really like encouraged us to like make the best boats possible. Like personally, I really like that. But how do you feel about it?
I agree. For the most part, the 40 boat cap forces you as a company to work together more and have your goals more organized. Last season, SOV in general, SOV had all personal boats. Everybody had their own personal boats. And what happens when somebody takes out your boat and they fuck it up and it gets sunk or something gets ruined on it, whatever? Well, now you're pissed off because some jackass just messed up your boat. If everything is kind of more like the company mentality, like Trauma was talking about, we're enforcing the same thing this season. Everybody, there is no your boat, my boat, his boat. Everything is company boats. Therefore, nobody's attached to them. They're all throwaways. They all can just go out and be discarded whenever. It's not a big deal. And that makes it more fun in a sense, encourages people to get out there and just fight rather than worried about losing a boat.
Yeah, I also think that the limit of unanchored boats, even if you were to have a 20 fleet battle in a 75-man company, then you all of a sudden have more players that are able to interact in maybe different things around the ship, be that boarding, maybe just repairing in general, even manning cannons, things like that. So I think it kind of brings another aspect to the game that didn't already exist, that maybe wouldn't have existed otherwise if everyone was just on their own boat.
They also put a time limit on top of that, right? Like, what's the time limit?
Yeah.
300.
Tame limit
300?
yeah, tame limit was
300.
reduced to 300, but they also made it so seeded AI on any type of defenses no longer count towards that. So that's pretty big as well.
Wouldn't that? But there's no limit on how many puckles I could put, right?
Well, correct. You could have 10,000 puckles on your island
so
as
what's
long
gonna
as
happen?
you're not with.
So what's gonna happen is gonna be the same thing we had in our before the 100 turret limit. You're gonna just like you could technically put 10,000 puckles in a line, and because the turrets have to register, have to track the player within range, you could just gonna have situations in which you're gonna lag out when you're in range of the turret that's gonna track you.
To be fair, I think that shows another problem with the actual code of the turret itself, rather than the players using that system. Their fix for that in Arc was just to limit the number of turrets you could place, rather than actually fixing the foundation check or the player check of those turrets. So I think that's something that actually kind of lands on the programmer side of things rather than on the player side of things to address.
Yeah, it's like we got our one of our islands raided, and the entire defense was based around having actual defenses. You know, like these people assumed that they would actually work, but when like 80 plus people showed up with the mythical fob, a dragon, 30 tames, and try to take our island, all of a sudden the defenses didn't work, and we're a little under pressure, and like that's the thing is like it just so it's whatever, like that shit happens, but also at the same time it's like you still have to consider like the overhead of holding your other island, holding your polar farm island, all that stuff is like, yeah, you might have like 10 million defenses, but like how much are you actually farming, man? Like you're farming gold all day long to keep your 10 million puckles, your 10 million islands, whatever, so there is some drawback to it. So
I think it just adds more to the grind when you have to like farm for so much gold to maintain so many puckles and defenses in general.
It's not a bad thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's definitely better that you have to pay your AI rather than just plug them into a generator. It definitely it puts a limit. It's a soft cap, not a hard cap on the players. If you want to grind like crazy, you can do it. But you're going to cost your players their enjoyment of the game if you do it. So that's something that the actual companies have to weigh into account if you want to go that crazy with it.
Yeah. Well, I think I covered all the. I want to leave it open table. Like, is there any other topic that we should be touching on?
Yo, we skipped question 3. What about the current alliance enemies? Yeah, you missed that.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah, what's the status? I saw there's a couple of EU companies on NA, but I don't know any of them. I don't know who they are. So maybe one of you can touch on that.
Let's talk about felons enemies.
Talk about allies. You guys all want to go blue with me, or what?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Everybody ally. Come on, boys. Yeah, one alliance. We don't need anybody, man. Xbox, get blown the fuck out.
Season 1, we bailed from the TPGN3 alliance because of how cringy big it was.
It was huge. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
The day we got into it, straight up, Dagger and them were like, nope, no more people allowed in the next day. These guys are kind of cool. Like, all right. Bullshit.
Yeah, we're totally okay with it. That's what we pushed season 2 was like, we're like we're not gonna have anyone left to fight, man. Like literally, like in the middle of our biggest war, because no one would fight us. during the beginning of season 2, we were just PvE bobs, dude. We farmed, we did power stones, man. We got everything done. No one even like people would look at our boats. They would go to a free port, man. We wouldn't even look at them, and they'd just be to a free port. And finally, someone had the balls to attack us. And at the height of the war, they asked for an alliance. It's like, come on, dude. Like, who the fuck are we gonna fight now? Like, we're just gonna go back to PvE, man. Like, what do you want? Like, why do you play this game? Like, go play on NA PvE, man.
Yeah, it's definitely so much more fun to just read the world.
It was like when we were all allied with a bunch of people for like even like 2 days. Everyone was so pissed, dude. Yeah, I remember just being on the boat and just everyone was blue. Everything was blue. It's terrible.
Yep, spreadsheet.
We had like toast and stuff, and dude was like, they didn't want to sit there and just sit there and ally. It was more fun to run into random reds all the time.
Yep,
agreed.
I can speak on this from personal experience. I think PCA is probably noted as one of the biggest alliance companies in the game from season 2 and 3 continuing. And for the most part, there's a lot of blue. There's a lot of blue around us. And at the end of the season and whatnot, there's not a lot of people left regardless. But when I got to sail 10 to 12 grids to go fight no, and have a chance at getting an even fight, and then you show up and you're in their home tile, they could pull out way more than you can. So unless you bring massive numbers, you finally get down there 10 grids and then you get swarmed and you're outnumbered. It's like, well, what the fuck's the point? We just sailed
K10, K37 untouched, baby. Pull up. Blap, blap.
We just sailed, 2.5 hours to go try and fight somebody, and it was a complete waste of time. If Trauma were to come to our grids last season, it would have been the same thing for them. You're in the home tile, always has the advantage. So it's like, what is the point of sailing 10 grids to go fight somebody? It's a complete waste of time.
I do agree with that, though. Yeah, it's just.
But
it's crazy.
On the other sense, the direct counter to it is too much blue. Last season, you could have 25 alliances. You could be allied with 25 companies right now. I think that's too much. Now? That's 25. You could have 5 in your 5
They
brackets.
should make it 1.
Exactly. I think they should just make it so you can ally maybe 1 or 2 people, 1 or 2 companies, and that's it. Why is there a need for so many?
Or none, and just have to communicate.
Well, here's the thing though.
Within like a grid or 2, I'm okay with that.
Like we saw in CSCG, and a lot of those really big alliances, that they didn't have enough room for all those companies. In season 1, the limit was much greater. I don't remember exactly what it was, but the fact of the matter is, even if you limit that, you're still going to have people who will spyglass to make sure that, okay, this is someone I'm not going to shoot versus someone that I am going to shoot. It's just something that you can't really ever fix. You can make it more difficult and more frustrating for your player base, but I don't know if that's really healthy for the game either.
Yeah, like no for us was 10 grids away. No matter which direction you went, you could go the other side of the world. It was still 10 grids away. You go through the center of the world, it was still 10 grids away. No matter what, they were 10 grids away. So trying to get down there and fight them towards the end of the game was a complete waste of time. The point being,
I think that goes back to maybe some kind of fast traveling, so you wouldn't have.
Yeah, I mean that would have helped, or something. Currents in the water, fast travel, upload your ship somewhere. That would have helped, but that's like a big change in the game. I don't know how they would go about doing that. The point to be adjusted a little more here is too many options to make blue friends. What if maybe 2 brackets or 1 bracket? You get 1 bracket. You can have 5 people in that 1 bracket, and that's it. That's your buddies. Even then, some people would argue that they want even less than that. But 25 friends, 25 friendly companies is a lot. I think it's too much.
So I got a question on that then. So what about the taxpayers? Because a lot of people will blue their taxpayers so they can live under their defenses. If you limit that even further down, then how are people going to rent out of your islands without being under, risk of attack? So it's, again, kind of one of those more complicated things, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had taxpayers at the early stages of season 2, and what happened, which I mean, this is probably unique to our situation, was that we had red taxpayers. You know, it was cool, whatever. I stayed away from the defenses. We essentially protected the island. But like, literally, what happened was that they were so bored from not ever getting attacked that they just quit the game. Like, they were just so bored they couldn't attack anyone, because as soon as like anyone saw them, they'd be like, "Oh, that's no taxpayer. Like, I ain't fucking touching that."
Yeah, but if you didn't give them the option to pay you tax, would you not have just wiped them out?
No, why would we? Who gives a shit?
Because they're red.
What? So, I mean, like, we'll sink
So
their
kill 'em off.
boats. Why? What does that prove, dude? Like, does it make you feel good that
it's
like
not-
you're just gonna like
no,
wipe
it's
this
not.
like like 5-man company? Like, oh, we got him, boys. This 5-man company, we blown the fuck out, man. We got our like 90 boys. We got 4 galleons. We got a dragon. We got 3 mythical brigs. Man, these bobs didn't stand a chance. Got him.
The point is, what do you raid people for in this game? To steal their stuff, right? Steal their blueprints, cut
clout.
their heads off, get the XP.
Clout.
I mean, yeah, I attack people to steal their shit and cut their heads off for XP. Once that's done, I don't care about your tames. I don't want to kill your farm tames. I don't care about killing your tames and whatnot. That's a waste of time, in my opinion. But once you get their heads, once you steal their maps and their blueprints, you leave them be. And their mind, a lot of the time, you just stole all their shit. And they don't want to play anymore. Now they're done. So they got to find somewhere else to go, find another bigger company to join so they have more protection, or they just stop playing the game. We saw this with Idiocracy a lot last season. They wiped out a lot of smaller companies, and those smaller companies just quit playing. They didn't even come back. They didn't want to go merge with anybody. They just stopped playing and left.
I mean,
So
the
when you
real
think
question
about
is, do they have any shit? Like, they don't have anything I can't farm within a couple hours.
I mean, I
Yeah, I
think.
mean-
Sorry, go ahead.
I attacked a company yesterday that had a thatch building on the beach. We broke into it, and they had like 4 or 6 bookshelves full of blueprints and maps from going out and doing maps and shit. And we just broke into a thatched building and stole all their shit right off the beach. Like, it was that easy. And they immediately wanted to make some sort of agreement. They would ship us resources or something, and we would agree not to attack them anymore.
And that's why you sail 10 grids to go attack people, dude. Like, we just don't fuck with them. We ignore them.
Well,
like, they do
what
their
would
own thing,
you-
man.
what would you have
but I
done
think that has something to
differently?
do with like season 2, when like there was like a lot less players, so you had to travel further, and there was nothing else there was no one else to fight, so you had to like kill the renters and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
to me, that what faces makes sense to me. I don't see a problem with that. I think the issue is that my opinion is that if you were having what I go back to, if you have another way of like fast traveling and getting to your target a lot quicker, then you wouldn't be bothering with like the smaller guys. Like that kind of happens in Arc too. Like we're just fighting between mega groups, and maybe we grief to bob guys if we can. But a lot of the time you just bothering you just fighting the bigger groups rather than the smaller groups, because it's more accessible. It's like you have an easier time getting to them. But in this game, you don't really have that.
How we handled it was like, if you're on the sea, we'll pull up. Like, it doesn't matter, dude. Like, if you got a boat on the sea, we'll fucking sink you. We don't care. Like, there's certain points, like the other day I was talking about earlier, like way earlier, about like we jumped on a boat, and they had a cooking pot, and they had a level 9 horse. I was killing that level 9 horse with the pike, man, and I felt fucking bad. I was like, oh man, who the fuck are we pulling up on? And like, we actually tried to like stop, and we're like, whoa, hold on, dude. Like, you got to put swivels on your boat. You got to do this. You got to do that. Like, you got to watch out, man. And then they just like totally forgot about like repairing their planks, and they sunk anyways, and they were really pissed anyways. But that's how we deal with it. It's like, we're not going to raid you on the land. Like, unless you like grief our harbors, grief our ships, like shit like that. We don't give a fuck where you live, man. We'll sink you on the sea. And like, because the fun in the game to me is the sea. Like, I mean, that is more like from the standpoint of like melee, or sorry, like ground combat in general is like broken. But now that it's been fixed a little bit more, like, I don't agree with that. But like, we'll see how it balances out. But like, that's what we did with a lot of people. Is like, even WTF for a long time, that we were like, like it's commonly known as like, we had a like non-aggression pact on the land. Like, we won't raid you, but if we see your boat, we're gonna fucking sink you, because that's the fun part of the game. Like, we want to have fun. We don't want to just like sail around like to see blue all the time.
I see. Anyway, I know we're gonna be going on for almost 2 hours. I think I'm almost done. Do you guys want to do any final statements? Stuff
There's
like that?
one thing I would, I would like to say.
Who's the strongest company?
In 3, baby. K10, K37 and touch, baby. Pull up.
No, I'm not talking about the classic N3, sit in your harbor, sit on your island in Ark and claim strongest. We're talking who's the strongest company in general.
I think
SDC
notably, the company that is claiming to be advanced higher than anybody else, it typically is coming out of SDC's mouth more than anybody else. I think they did a lot of the content before anybody else already. They have higher level players compared to some of the other groups.
Harder than anybody else is what I mean. Whether they win or lose, who's rolling out harder?
SDC, I think.
I think SDC has probably got the biggest fight coming right now. I think they could.
Who is the
company
recruiter
versus
in
company.
SDC? Just curious.
I would say that when SDC rolled into your harbor and sunk all your boats, I mean,
Yeah, what do we have? 3 ramshackles and a schooner? That's not boats, and that's not a harbor.
yeah, they aren't boats anymore, because at the bottom of the ocean, dude.
It's ramshackles. What's the accomplishment?
What else you got, dude? What else you got?
It's day one. There wasn't anything. There was no harbor.
They pulled up with a galley, dude.
Wait,
All
do
you
they-
got is ramshackles, and they pulled up with the galley, man. That speaks a fucking load about your company, dude.
who's SDC? Like, where'd they come from? Where
Slick
they?
Daddy
what-
Club,
what's
number
from,
one.
EU.
I know that.
Baby.
Yeah, but who are they in other game? Are they just a random tribe that came
They're
companies that came
SDC
together?
from Ark, I think.
Is it really SDC from
Yeah.
Ark? Like, that was an SDC for a little
I don't
bit.
know. I don't think we've seen them in any other games other than the survival games by Grape Shot. I'm not sure what else they play or where else they come from.
Yeah,
I know. That's what I said. I played with SDC on Ark. I didn't know if it was the same
Yeah,
one.
I'm pretty sure it's the same
same one.
SDCs from Ark. Yeah, it is the same SDCs from Ark.
Oh, word, dude. So if I get meat ran tomorrow, dude, I'll be knocking on your door, Gary.
SDC Senate.
Shameless.
All right. You guys want to do now some final statements, or is there anything?
I would
let's
like
go
to,
through
to
everyone.
mention on the topic of sailing 10 grids to get to or from your enemies. I think restructuring the map, like Digital brought up earlier, I think it would solve that immensely. If you put islands with good resources towards the center, islands with less resources towards the outskirts, you'd have your megas separate from your lower class players. And I think that would solve a lot of the griefing of the bobs and wars for the megas.
I agree. Zunit, Felon?
For the most part, I would like to see faster travel in some form or another. But yeah, definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I
So
agree
my
with that as well.
my biggest thing that I want to see happen, like, is population, actual population. That would be great.
Yeah, same here with me. I want to see. I am banking really hard on the Xbox players to just populate this game. If there's not enough
everybody
Xbox players, yeah. If there's not enough Xbox players, I don't think this game. I think this will just die. So we'll see how things go on October 8th. How many players actually do come back from PC and how many Xbox players actually show up? Because I think that's where you're actually gonna decide where the game goes from there. And yeah, I want to see more fast traveling too. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that for sure. What I want to see right now is more casual play for sure. And like, I think we all kind of agreed on this, is that like the more casual play, the more boats out on the ocean, and to kind of like funnel everything, like the higher tiered boats to a certain area, have world events. Like, I think the ghost ship should be like on the map. Like, everyone should go fight for it. You get mythos, you get gold, whatever. Like, people should fight for it. Like, it shouldn't just be like an easy kill, you know, just like sit behind it, whatever, beam it. It doesn't matter. Like, the world events are like what are going to cause people to go to the center, and also like the 5th and 6th material for legendary, mythical, you know, whatever boats. Like if we're fighting over that, that's fucking content, dude. And that's more time that we're not just driving around just beaming common boats. And I think that's the best fix for right now. Like the melee change, like I literally said that I was going to quit the game within a month if they didn't change melee and like the gear changes, and they did. So thank fucking God, because I love this goddamn game. It's fucking wonderful, and I'm glad they changed that. So thank you, Grape Shot. Thank you.
All right. I think
a lot of people will agree with that for the most part. Is
Yeah.
definitely looking positive with this roadmap and everything.
All right.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, I think that's all. Thanks everyone for joining me on the podcast, and
Yeah, it's been fun.
I'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Thanks, Dolphin, for setting this up. Appreciate it, man.